Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Fan Experience TV. This TV show is brought to you in part by Playing the Field. Playing the Field is a sports fan community and dating app. Pre-registration is open for the mobile apps that are due out in the next few months. Go to playingthefield.io to pre-register and get on the wait list, or you can try out our beta right now at playthefielddating.com. As always, I am your host, Mike Katos. Alongside me is my co-host, Rick Molina. Rick, how we doing?
Mike, doing well tonight. I got the Knicks and Pistons on. Knicks up 14. We had a little minor league. We had a little spring training baseball today. We have a lot of news in the NFL as far as the draft and the quarterback carousel. But I guess we begin with your beloved Mets. And
why not?
Brandon Nimmo with a leadoff home run. Setting the stage for what should be an exciting year. So why don't you tell us about it? The Mets won today, obviously, and they're off to a good start in spring training. So, what are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on Nimmo and leading off with a home run and off to a solid win today down in Port St. Lucie over the hated rivals, the Nationals?
Yes, the Nationals. It's always great to see the home runs and. I've always liked Nimmo, and he's exciting to watch. He's got a lot of passion for the game. He just has a lot of fun. I love the guy runs around the bases with huge smile on his face every single time. Yeah. And we also had Pete Alonso for his mom's birthday. Knocks a grand slam to after giving up 4 runs in the top of the inning. He goes 2 outs, first pitch swinging, and blast one to the opposite field. So it's good to see Alonso getting starting to get his swing going, and obviously it's very early on. Nothing could be taken too seriously right now. But it's a good sign. It's a good sign to put up 8 runs. But there was another team that didn't put up 8 runs and didn't put up any runs, and against another one of my rival teams, the Philadelphia Phillies. But your New York Yankees, 15-0. But there was nobody notable was really starting in that game. So.
No, Deivi Garcia, I believe, start that game. But I think that the bigger story with the Yankees is obviously what happened with Aaron Boone yesterday, where the news came out that he had to get a pacemaker installed. And that's always scary when it comes to the heart, when it comes to health issues. But he is expected to make a full recovery, expected to be back for opening day. So that's the start of it. And for the Yankees, Mike, they got to find a way to stay healthy. Stanton and Judge and Hicks and all those guys stay healthy. And then the question is, after Garrett Cole, who are the guys that are going to load up behind? Is it going to be a Deivi Garcia? Is it going to be this kid Italian that they got from Pittsburgh? Is Severino going to be able to make a comeback? There are a lot of questions in that starting rotation. And so we'll wait and see. But, listen, right now the Yankees are just rounding into form, rounding into shape. I'm not too worried about what's going on. I think for them getting this issue with Aaron Boone's pacemaker, and his heart troubles behind them so they can focus on the season is the important thing. And then away we'll go. So these games are fun right now because they're kind of everybody's just getting ready. But, in about 30 days when we're doing it for real, that's when we'll start a little banter around here going back and forth. So I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Yeah. I cannot wait for opening day to come around, and it's gonna be a long season. They're not shrinking the season at all. So let's hope that all can play out. And hope we can, get a full season in of 162 games, no matter which side of the coin you're on,
Right. Which I think they will. And what I was going to ask you is, how did you feel that your old owner, Fred Wilpon, was at the game today, sitting behind home plate, watching some of the
festivities? I did not see that.
He was there for a couple of innings behind home plate, just watching, just happened to be passing by. Said,
innocent bystander. He was like, "Oh, okay, let's go catch a game.
Catch a game, sure. A hot dog, no big deal."
I mean, you have to assume that he's got a place over there in Port St. Lucie, close by. I mean, owner of the team for umpteenth years, and So of course he's going to live by there. And hey, who doesn't want to go to a spring training game? If you're going to be there, why not?
Why not have a good time, a couple of hot dogs, just kind of piss off Stevie Cohen, no big deal. No big deal.
Yeah, no big deal at all. But good signs, and hopefully they can keep that momentum going. But doesn't count.
Right.
Doesn't
yet.
count.
Doesn't count yet.
Does not count yet. So should we?
We can talk a little. We talk a little football for a minute.
The notable news about
notable mentions. Obviously, go ahead. I didn't want to cut you off.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned it to me, pre-show about the Trevor Lawrence news.
Yeah.
So we'll touch on that really quick, and then we'll bring our guest on.
Yeah. Well, Chris Sims from Pro Football Talk and his own podcast saying that Zach Wilson out of BYU is the top prospect in this year's draft. He was comparing him. Are you ready for this? Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, and Josh Allen. And if you're a Jet fan sitting at 2 listening to that, you say to yourself, my God, what do we have here? This is like, when I heard that this morning, I was just like, what is he talking about? And the more he talked about it, the more he broke it down. The kid makes throws. He stands in the pocket. He's looking to make throws downfield. And as a Jet fan, man, we've screwed these up so many times. I mean, it was incredible when I heard that, because Jacksonville is going to take Trevor Lawrence. And then when you heard him break down Trevor Lawrence's game, he has a bunch of missed throws out there. His mechanics aren't all there. He doesn't have the cannon that apparently Zach Wilson has at a BYU. I said to myself, my God, did maybe Adam Gase winning those 2 games do the right thing for us? Could it be that Zach Wilson is our version of Patrick Mahomes?
Well, I mean, if you lose out, you have your choice of the litter, your pick of the litter,
right?
So.
But this makes having the second pick, and it makes all the more reason why Douglas said, you know what, we're taking calls on Sam Darnold. I think Darnold's plays his last game in New York. I think he's going to get traded. They're just waiting for the right deal, hopefully a second rounder or whatever it is, and they're going to trade away. They're going to trade Sam, but. If they can be able to pick up, because I was thinking they take that kid, Kyle Pitts out of Florida, the tight end, and surround Sam with some help. But if they take, this kid Zach Wilson, and he's the hype that they says he is, and find another player with him in the 23rd round, in the 23rd pick of the first round, then all of a sudden, man,
it changes the whole
outlook of the game. Yeah.
Go
ahead. Yeah.
No, I mean, you just never know. No matter what the hype is, obviously,
Yeah.
Tom Brady was a 6th round pick. Enough said. So you never know. You never know what's going to happen. So, we'll get into a little bit more notable news about the NFL after our next guest, because there is a couple of things to cover. But right now, we're going to welcome our next guest. He is a former international basketball player, a 2-time author, and the founder of Athletes Unheard. Please welcome Malcolm Lemmons. Malcolm, how are you?
Rick, Mike, what's going on, fellas? How y'all doing tonight?
Doing well, Malcolm. Thanks for coming on, man.
For sure.
Awesome. And it's a pleasure to have you on again. And I just we always start off every conversation with pretty much, what started it off for you? Your love for sports. Where did it all come from? Who were you a fan of? Just walk us through that early sports fan life for you.
Yeah, for sure. So I grew up, actually was a soccer player. That was my first sport.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. Then I wanted to play in the NFL. I got into football, and I thought I was going to be the next Marshall Faulk. So I was a big Rams fan back in the day. And then I fell in love with basketball, and from there it was Tracy McGrady. That was my favorite athlete growing up. So yeah, I played all sports, man, and definitely was a big fan of T-Mac when it came to basketball, and Marshall Faulk was definitely my go-to from a football perspective.
Awesome. So when did you start picking up basketball? So
I believe I started playing basketball in 5th grade. I didn't really start taking it seriously till I got to high school, but 5th grade was when I first picked up the ball, and kind of just play for fun. But, the more you play, obviously, you kind of grow that passion. And then I was fortunate enough to play at a really highly competitive high school called Gonzaga in D.C. and had an opportunity to play against guys such as Quinn Cook, Victor Oladipo, Jeremy Grant, played with guys who played at Duke, University of Richmond. So really high major, talent. And, that gave me exposure to where I was able to get a D1 scholarship after I was done playing in high school.
That's incredible. Malcolm, thanks for coming on. So you got hooked on your favorite sports team in middle school. What team was that first sort of caught your eye in middle school?
For any sport or?
Well, yeah, for any sport in general, but the one that really you sort of like, this is my team.
Man, well, I never really had a basketball team, as crazy as it sounds.
Really?
I was more so a fan of players. I follow players. For football, a lot of people don't know I'm a Atlanta Falcons fan.
Okay.
So I was a big Mike Vick fan as well. And when he was down there killing it, I was like, I need a team. And so I just stuck with him, and I've been a Falcons fan ever since. And we've had some tough years recently, but I got to stick with them through thick and thin. So that's my squad.
I respect that. And you're a big T-Mac fan. So were you a Raptors fan? Did you become a Raptors fan as well when you started following T-Mac?
Yeah, I was actually. So my brother actually loved Vince Carter. And so, he was Vince. I was T-Mac. That's how we did that. And then, I stuck with T-Mac all throughout his years, the injuries and his ups and downs. I wish he wouldn't have got, had those back spasms and all the injuries, but I think he would have been a hell of a player. So yeah, I was definitely on T-Mac when he was in the Raptors. He was a young gun.
Yeah, that's right. I remember they beat the Knicks in that first round. I remember that was a tough one to lose that year.
Yeah. So
yeah. No, the great team back then for sure. So you played basketball in high school. You played basketball in college, and then you went overseas. Was that like right away, or did you take a little break? Or did you went straight overseas?
After I finished up, I actually ended up transferring my senior year of college, which is something obviously you don't see a lot of athletes doing. Yeah. But I took a leap of faith, went out to a school called Cal State San Marcos in San Diego. Definitely a big weather change. I had never been to San Diego before, but so no complaints there. But just ended up having the best year I ever had playing basketball, and it gave me the opportunity to go play in Japan. Really incredible experience. Obviously, came with its fair share of challenges, but got to experience a different culture. Just immerse myself in that community and get paid to do something that I love to do, and that a dream that I always wanted to achieve. So very fortunate in that regard, and really just cherish that opportunity to play over there.
Awesome. And yeah, so I had this best friend back in grade school, back when I was living in Queens over here, and he ended up he was really good at basketball. He ended up moving to playing in like Vietnam, and now I think he's playing in Australia. He played in China as well, and now he's playing in Australia. So he's been all over there. But I read a little bit, on your website about when you went to Japan, and everything's in Japanese, even like the McDonald's menus, and like you had to you had to assimilate, and like you had to try and figure out as much as you could to survive out there. So talk to us what it was like, getting immersed in a new culture and just trying to find your footing, really.
It was crazy, man. Because that was the first year. My rookie year was the first year I'd ever been out the country, and so getting over there, the general manager actually got sick. Was in the hospital when I first got out there, and I think he was close to dying. And so they told us, they were like, we don't have anything in order. I got out there, didn't have a bed for 2 weeks, so I was sleeping on the floor. Didn't have AC. We weren't getting paid. Had to walk to practice. Had to walk a mile to just get something to eat. It was hell. But I tell people all the time, man, it's like you're placed in those situations for a reason. And more than anything else, it taught me how to survive. You can put me anywhere on this planet, and I guarantee you I'll make it out alive. So it was definitely a challenge, man. But I learned so much about myself, and just being able to be, like I said, be in a different culture and having to assimilate and really just make things work. So Yeah, I think that's one of the understated parts about playing overseas is how much of a culture shock it can be for a lot of guys, and being away from your family 9 months out of the year is really tough. So you really got to be able to remain a professional on and off the court at all times.
And how long were you there in Japan for? How long did you play there for?
About 2 years.
Okay.
On and off, yeah.
Nice. That's incredible. And so tell us about the Japanese culture. What's it like? What were some of the experiences you had out there while you were playing out there?
It was great, man. I love Japanese culture. The people are very friendly. They're shy, but they're very nice. They're big on honor. It's very clean. I lived in Tokyo my second year, and I tell people it's just like New York, but cleaner. It's a clean version of New York. And probably
way cleaner.
Right. Probably a little bit busier too. You get on that train, you might get lost. But it was great, man. It really felt like Tokyo felt like home. I was able to a lot of the stuff we have over there as far as restaurants and things of that nature they have over there. So amazing experience, really unique and just invaluable, man. Just overall great experience.
So when you got back to the States, when did you first start looking into, athletes, mental health? When did you start thinking about being an author? Like what led sort of the steps you took to get where you are right now?
So before my second year playing overseas, I had a pretty unstable professional basketball career up until that point. A lot of going back and forth, coming back home, working jobs that I hated. And so that kind of gave me, the eye-opening, experience to what life after basketball could look like if I didn't start, taking it seriously. And so going back overseas that following year, I had a lot of time on my hands, and I'm sitting in my loft outside of Tokyo, and I'm thinking to myself, if basketball wasn't in the picture again, what would I be doing? And I really had no plan, no idea, but I started to write really as a means of reflecting and trying to figure it all out. And to make a long story short, a lot of the content that I was writing and things that I was just journaling more or less, I was sharing with people, and people were saying how much of an inspiring story I had, and had I ever thought about becoming an author. And that wasn't something that I aspired to do. But I thought about how my story can be inspiration to another athlete who might be going through the same things or similar circumstances. And so I published that first book, Lessons from the Game, in 2017. And that was like really the beginning of me starting to prepare for life after sports. And it opened up a lot of doors as far as speaking, media opportunities, and things of that nature. So I wouldn't say the transition was easy, but I started to prepare a little bit before I was actually done. And it kind of gave me a leg up to, figuring out what my long-term game plan was going to be.
That's
great. No, that's great. Well, I want to just jump back a little bit. So you were, you're in your 20s, and you're sitting in Tokyo, and you said you were going back and forth working jobs, but were you ever like there like during an off season? And like, how did like the nightlife stuff go? You're sitting there and
that might be a conversation for a different podcast.
This is no holds barred. This show. We're a TV show. We're not a podcast.
I'll tell you one thing. If you ever get a chance to go to Tokyo, you got to hit up Roppongi. It's like
everybody. Yeah, I had a friend who did that. He said it's crazy over there.
Oh, Roppongi is amazing, man. If you like to have a good time, definitely go to Roppongi. You'll be out all night. I'm telling you, you won't make it back home until maybe 7, 8 in the morning. I had a couple of those nights. So
that's all good, man. It's all good.
Fair enough. That's all we need to know. So obviously you got the lessons from the game, and then you started your own podcast as well, Players Point. Talk to us about that a little.
So I started that podcast in 2018, and really I wanted to start building more relationships within the sports industry. I knew I wanted to get in business in some capacity and kind of really stay in that sports vertical. I just didn't know how to do it or where to even start. And so I thought a podcast and having that platform and me being able to help other people tell their stories was a good idea. And so I ran a Players Point podcast for 2 years, over 100 guests, current and former athletes, and people who worked in the industry, and was able to kind of build a name for myself and get my foot in the door in some regards, but also build a lot of relationships with people that I'm still friends with today. So, that podcast was, a really great experience, a lot of fun, and kind of helped me figure out, or even what led me to what I'm doing now in some aspects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Rick.
Oh, no, I was going to say, what are some of the things as your podcast and you interview people that you've uncovered about athletes that they're going through that you realize, wow, man, either I experienced that, or is that something that you never thought that certain athletes are out there, they're going through throughout their careers?
That's a great question. I think one of the things is like how similar a lot of our stories are. It's like we all, no matter what sport you play, male, female, like we all go through the same hurdles being an athlete, having to juggle so much, having to really balance, the pursuit of this dream. A lot of us grow up, we want to become professional athletes from when we're kids. And you don't really understand at that age how challenging it really is, and how much work, energy, effort that you have to put in it, and those roadblocks along the way. And so having that platform, being able to have these conversations, I just was able to see really just what other challenges people had experienced and how it really shaped them in multiple different ways. So I think that one of the things looking at athletes is like we all have been through adverse situations, but it's helped us in whatever we're trying to do next. I think athletes are unique in that regard, is that we failed so many times, and so we're used to it. We get into the business world, we're not deterred by minor setbacks and things of that nature, and that is something I really notice across the board with a lot of athletes on multiple different fronts.
And let me ask you this about as an athlete, right? You prepare to get on that big stage and the big show, but nobody ever really teaches you that. And at the same time, when you leave the game, they don't really prepare you for that. So are there things that you're working on, or that you might be thinking of working on, to help people prepare to get into professional sports, and at the same time when they leave the game?
Yeah, and ironically, that's really how I started in the industry, and a lot of the content that I initially put out was around life after sports, and how do you make that transition, and what are some of the things that you can do to help ease, finding what your next plan is going to be. And so I talked a lot about my experience and some of the challenges I faced, but I think, now there's a lot more resources. I think the players' organizations, the NFLPA and the NBPA, do an amazing job, providing externships, providing, different programs and just, guides to help these athletes start to just think about what their next career is going to look like. And we also have incredible role models for athletes who are entrepreneurs during their careers. And LeBron James, Serena Williams, A-Rod, Marshawn Lynch. These athletes have kind of set the bar for what a modern day athlete looks like and what they can do even during their career. So, life after sports, I think it is more of a conversation of having the dual career, and athletes seeing that, I can be an athlete and whatever else. There's no limits or barriers to what I can accomplish on or off the playing field. And I think that conversation has definitely changed over the years, and I think will be more prevalent going forward with this next generation and the opportunities that they're going to have.
Yeah, no, and it's definitely something that needs to be talked about and needs to be recognized a lot more. And, that I'm guessing led to your second book, Impact Beyond the Game, and, trying to help these players, build their brands in any way that possibly could shape out. And obviously we have name, image, likeness, coming to college soon. So obviously there's going to be a lot of that stuff that's going to be detrimental to these athletes' health. I mean, you look at an NFL running back, they're retiring at 30 years old. They got their whole life ahead of them. So it's definitely something that needs to be fleshed out a lot more. So talk to us a little bit about what is in the book, Impact Beyond the Game.
Yeah, so I think I got the idea to write this book back in 2018, right around when I started the podcast. And there have been conversations around name, image, and likeness, and athletes potentially being able to monetize their brands, even looking like at the Ed O'Bannon case, several years ago.
UCLA, Ed O'Bannon,
yeah. I got a little bit of money off of that, that settlement. so I mean, I'm not going to sit up here and say I knew it was coming, but I had an idea, and I had been putting content out about, the pros and cons of student athletes getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought to myself that regardless of whether this is about making money, it's about these athletes up their future. And when I think of branding, I think of reputation, and everyone has a reputation. And so athletes need to understand how to really leverage their platforms effectively so that, if opportunities do come during your career or even afterwards, you're able to efficiently take advantage of them. And so Impact Beyond the Game is more or less a blueprint that really just teaches athletes the personal branding 101. What is a personal brand? Why do you need to build yours? What are some of the opportunities that are out there? How do you leverage social media effectively? How do you deal with the media? How do you speak out on social issues? How do you partner with charitable organizations? So all these different things that play a factor in athletes' brand, I really just try to break down really simply to show athletes like anybody can do this. Whether you're the last man coming off the bench or an all-star on the best team in the league. Like everyone has a brand, but it's all about how you leverage it and how you really take advantage of that platform while you're an athlete to set yourself up for the future.
No, that's incredible. And I'm wondering, I know they're athletes, LeBron James, Serena Williams, they have tremendous power. But do all athletes realize how much power they really have? Because the momentum is shifting, right? Before it was owners had this power and execs, but now the athlete is really in a position where they can exert their leverage. I mean, are they aware of the impact that they can have in their professional sports, careers, public life? I mean, is the athlete truly aware of kind of the change he can make?
Yeah, I definitely think so. And I think this past year we saw it, with everything that happened around George Floyd and how these athletes unionized and really, collected their voices and put them together to make an impact. And I think a prime example is the WNBA. They get a lot of slack and talk about equal pay and all these different things. But you see what the Atlanta Dream did.
Yeah, they got rid of Kelly Loeffler. Good for them.
Right. And I give a lot of credit to Renee Montgomery, who is one of my homegirls. But what she's been able to do, she just became a minority owner in the team that she just played for.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. And so when you look at the platforms that these athletes have, it doesn't matter, whether it's WNBA or NBA or NFL or whatever league, like every athlete can put themselves in a position to be successful and have opportunities for life after sports. But it all goes back to how are you taking advantage of this platform you've been given? How are you building your relationships? How are you, networking and really leveraging all of these other, opportunities? And so I think athletes are starting to get it. And as I said before, we have really great role models and examples. And so I think the next generation is going to be more prepared than generations that have come before.
No, I agree with you. I think the likeness thing in college, I think athletes will be able to leverage that and make money and all that. I think in terms of our society, I think they're going to have a more of an impact. But do you think more pressure can be from athletes? More pressure can be put on not just, let's say, owners in sports, but governments to make change. I mean, can they really make an impact? Because you see, like these laws that are being like these voting restriction laws. I mean, can athletes really say, you know what, we won't play a season, or maybe we won't do something? I mean, can they really leverage that power to make that kind of change?
I think so. I think I'll preface it by saying, I don't think any of us are expecting athletes to moonlight as politicians. Like, their job is not
not at all. Not at all.
Enact legislation. But I think given, where we place them in society and within our communities and just how we look as athletes, they're role models, whether they choose to be or not. And kids, it's one of the most, I guess, popular professions for that kids want to be. And so kids look up to these people. And so, they have a platform, and when they utilize it and speak out on these issues, I definitely think it can move the needle in multiple different ways.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And, just look back to, like you said, this past year, and when sports were not being played because everything was shut down, there was a lot of turmoil, across the whole country, and that had to have played a factor, whether, directly or indirectly. There is something about sports that just helps unite us. And, obviously I'm a firm believer of that. I am building an app called, Playing the Field, trying to unite and facilitate connections between people that are sports fans for friendship, romance, or whatever, because I am a firm believer that, there is something about sports. It just brings people together. Me and Rick met at a baseball game. I'm a Mets fan. He's a Yankees fan, but we've been friends for 11 years now.
Yeah.
But
it started with an argument, then we're doing a show. So
yeah. Oh, we still argue.
We argue. Yeah.
But I bring up last year also because, that's also when you had, one of your big aha moments, when sports is shut down, along with, we got XFL. They all thought that they were going to have a full season, was rolling. And these are the people that, couldn't play in the NFL, and they got a shot. They scrapped to try to get a shot on a team, and everything's going good. And then COVID just, shuts it all down, and like you said, like it all shuts down. Minor leaguers in baseball, they can't play. And you take that time to reflect, and things like mental health, like depression, anxiety, you're distracted when you're playing, but then when you're not playing, you have time to like really realize what's going on mentally, within yourself. So talk to us a little bit about that and your eye-opening moments through COVID.
For sure. So I really, looking at my upbringing and some of the things that I went through, mental health was never a conversation. It was never emphasized or talked about, when I was a kid. And as I got older, I saw how me not being able to express myself or talk about things I was experiencing, it manifested in negative ways. And it was really detrimental to my development as a man. But I wasn't alone in that. There's so many other athletes who also have this mindset of like, you have to be tough. You can't show emotions. Don't cry. And this mindset, while I think it contributes to our success as athletes, it hurts us in many ways just as people, because that's just not natural. And so in saying all that, with what we went through with COVID and just the amount of trauma this country experienced this past year, I began to read a lot of stories and see numerous athletes, suffering from depression, anxiety, not being, around their teammates for the first time, not being able to play their sport, but not knowing how to voice this or really express it or really have an outlet to talk about these things. And that's really how I got that idea for Athletes Unheard. It was me wanting to be more educated and find ways I can learn about mental health and wellness, but also give athletes an outlet to talk about, mental health candidly and openly without being critiqued or judged. And so that's really what Athletes Unheard is about. We're trying to destigmatize what mental health means in the sports community and really normalize conversations and furthermore provide resources to help athletes so that they're able to better cope with things that they're going through, whether that's on or off the playing field. And I think it's going to be increasingly important going forward. I think name, image, and likeness is going to bring a lot of positives, but at the same time, it's going to bring a lot of pressure. And it's how are we going to put the human before the athlete? How are we really going to make sure that these kids are in a good headspace day in and day out, and that they can do their job as a student athlete before anything else? And so I'm excited about what's to come and really just hoping to make a big impact, in a lane that I think is long, overdue and should have been talked about years ago at a higher level. And so I'm just trying to do my part to make a difference.
That's great. And, you can't do it alone. So you need a support system and you need somebody to talk to, because, it's not gonna be done with one person internally. And, you mentioned these college kids, and obviously, if they're going to be out there and they're going to be showcasing themselves a lot more on, whatever it is, mainly social media. I mean, that's just the way it is. But seeing, like the Social Dilemma, I watched the Social Dilemma and scared the crap out of me.
Oh man,
and you got these CEOs of companies like Instagram and Facebook, and like they won't even let their kids touch it, and I have I have two girls, and it definitely scares me. But these kids are all growing up with social media at the forefront, since they've been kids, I mean, what, Facebook came out, 2008?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, well, 2003. Yeah, you're probably right. I think the iPhone was 2008. And but they're going to be showcasing themselves a lot more, and they're going to be getting, a lot of press their way, and it's going to be hard to deal with something like that. Now, who, since starting Athletes Unheard, without any names, obviously, have athletes reached out to you, and what have been some of the stories that you've heard and some of the things that you've been able to help them with?
Yeah, we've had, in the beginning, we had numerous athletes reach out to us, mainly interested in the platform and just wanted to support, but many also who wanted to tell their stories. And we still have athletes who do that. And so, I mean, just having opportunity to sit down with some of these athletes and really, giving them the space to be transparent and vulnerable has been really incredible. And we've had athletes who, have had suicide attempts and really dealt with depression at a very high level, and them being able to talk about that openly on our platform, to me, is I just commend them first and foremost, because it's not easy by any means. And they're giving inspiration to other athletes, encouraging other athletes to open up and letting them know they're not alone. We all go through shit in life. That's life. The game. It's ups and downs. But knowing that you're not the only person who's in that situation or facing whatever battle you're facing, it's a silver lining in it. And so it's been incredible, and I think that I'm just hoping to continuously tell more stories and be a space where athletes feel comfortable being who they are and talking about things that they might not have felt comfortable talking about elsewhere. We really want to create a community around that and let athletes know, like, we're here to support them and we're here for them whatever they need. And so I'm just excited about, like I said, what's to come, and just making storytelling really just a huge pillar of the brand and what we're trying to build long term.
Yeah, that's great. But Michael, let me ask you, I mean, Kevin Love came out and he talked about mental health issues. I know Kyrie's mentioned a little bit, but as even though it's a little more open and athletes still talk about it, why do you think there's still a stigma around it? Like, why do you think people still look at it like, oh, you're an athlete, you got to be tough? Like, what is it about it?
I think partially it's going back to that mindset that we're taught as kids, that we can't show any weakness, especially from on little boys. Like we as an athlete, every coach told you, like, you have to have this tunnel vision, this toughness mindset. There's always mental toughness, but it's never mental health. And so there's that, and there's a lack of education around some of the definitions and terminology. I think a lot of people think about mental health and they cringe because there's this association with mental illness. And those two things are not one and the same. Everybody has mental health, but we're not all mentally ill, and I compare it to physical health and physical illness. Like we all go to the gym, we work out, we work on our physical health, but we don't, all have diabetes or high blood pressure. And so you have to look at it in the same vein. If you're able to work on your physical health day in and day out, you should be doing the same for your brain, which is even more important when it comes to just your emotions and how you're feeling and how you're operating on a daily basis.
Got it. So you've played professional basketball, you've written 2 books, Athletes Unheard. I mean, where do you see this going? I mean, do you see public speaking, going around to different teams? I mean, where do you see yourself going with this?
Man, I've been very fortunate, man, to be in a space where I'm able to help athletes and just be, a catalyst to show athletes the way, more or less. And I think Athletes Unheard, it took me a long time to kind of get to this point and figure out, where exactly I see myself making the biggest impact. But I think I'm just going to continuously build this brand day in and day out. And I just see a huge future for the difference that we can make, whether that is, around programming and workshops and bringing in mental health professionals to facilitate that, or, trying to bridge the gap between some of the resources that athletes have to some of these mental health professionals for one-on-one counseling. I think that's one of the issues that's prevalent on the university side as well. You have some of these mental health professionals that are employed by the universities, but there's only one or two that's, responsible for 200, 300, 400 student athletes. So it's how can we even provide more support than what these athletes are already getting, and so I'm seeing a lot of different pain points that I'm trying to approach, but just enjoying the process of trying to build something from the ground up and trying to make a difference on a community that I deeply care about and resonate with.
Well, Mike. Yeah.
No, I mean, obviously, working with these athletes, and even if you help one person, you're helping a person, I mean, and that has to, pay its weight in gold, just that alone. You mentioned, obviously working out and, your physical health, and you said, exercises for your mental health. What type of exercises, do you preach as far as, how people can, help cope with it?
So actually, back in the fall last year, I started to experience really bad panic attacks, and I had 3 in a span of 3 weeks. And I had some in the past, but nothing like what I had this past fall. And so I realized that I had been neglecting my mental health and some of the routines that I should have been practicing a long time ago. And so since the fall, I've started to meditate every single morning. So I try to make that a habit, every single day. And I ask myself, how am I feeling? That's the first thing I ask myself before I even start working. And then I journal. And so I think that a lot of times I can't sleep, being a workaholic. I'm always thinking about trying to build. A lot of times I can't sleep, but it helps me at night. I journal every night just to kind of get my thoughts out and reflect on the day, what I got done, what I still need to do, what am I looking to do in the future. And so I journal every single day, and I've been doing that probably since the end of 2019. And so that's a practice that, is tried and true for me. And so those are probably my 2 pillars, the things I lean on the most. But, I've had athletes talk about various techniques and things that have helped them to allow trial and error, figuring out what works best for you, to kind of put you in a better headspace.
Okay, great. And so I know you're working with primarily adult athletes, correct? Right now.
So so we're mainly focused on collegiate and professional athletes.
Yeah. Are you looking for anything down the line where, because you said, the upbringing of sports and that mental toughness, right when you're a kid and you're learning about these sports, any kind of inclination to go a little younger and try to, put kids on the right path and have them learn these techniques to try to prevent it when they're older?
Yeah, no, it's definitely crossed my mind. I think, back to the educational standpoint, and really reshaping kids' thinking around mental toughness versus mental fitness versus mental illness and mental health in general, like understanding what all these different terms mean at younger ages, I think definitely helps them as they get older and makes them more comfortable having conversations about how they're feeling. And so, I definitely want to help on that front. I think there are, me not being a mental health professional qualified, by trade. There's a lot of people doing amazing work who I'm just trying to uplift and give, a bigger voice to with my platform. So I'm just doing what I can from, what I know and what I feel comfortable doing. But just being a resource, for the people who are actually on the front lines, working with these athletes one-on-one.
Yeah, understood. Makes perfect
Yeah.
sense.
I mean, Malcolm, you're doing great work, man. I mean, this is just incredible stuff that you're doing. I wish you nothing but the best. I mean, as for like people like I said, Mike and myself, like the regular guy, like we don't know what the athlete goes through. Like we see him on the field performing, but we don't really know what's going on in their head, in their hearts, and in their families. So for you to do this kind of work is just incredible, man. My hat's off to you. It's impressive. It's impressive.
I really appreciate that. And I think that's a big thing that's lost these days. I look at the news about Damian Lillard that just came out, I think yesterday, how he lost 6 family members in the span
nobody knew
1 year. And it's like he's just expected to go out there and play. Nobody's really asking him how you doing, how you feeling, or even knows about his personal situation. So we just got to get back to the humanity of it all and understand that at the end of the day, this is just a job. Our careers are just careers. What's really important is our health and our families and how we're feeling about our lives on a daily basis. That's what's most important.
Awesome.
Yeah, it definitely gets lost in the shuffle. Like, I mean, some people watching these games, they just don't realize it. They just take it for granted. That oh no, they play for that team and they're going to be there. No worries. They'll be there every single game and whatnot. And they don't think about it on the human level sometimes because it's entertainment. And that's right. In movies, obviously it's all fake. So they don't. It's tough to separate the two, especially if you haven't been an athlete.
It is.
So just to share with our audience, you have Lessons from the Game out there and Impact Beyond the Game. Those 2 books are out there. They're available on Amazon, correct?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Get them on Amazon.
And MalcolmLemmons.com and AthletesUnheard.com, correct?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so everyone, please,
Yes.
if you're struggling with anything, just reach out to Malcolm. He's on Instagram as well. All the social medias. If you ever need to talk with him, he's available for you.
Yeah, and you're always welcome on this show. Anytime you want to come on and talk about a book or anything, always open show, open forum, man.
Do you have another book in the works?
Probably so. No telling when, but I got a couple ideas on my mind. We'll see what the future holds.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for coming on. And any predictions on the winners of NBA this year?
Man, the Knicks, they just won tonight.
Knicks looking good. And Mike,
19 and 18.
I heard you say you were from Queens.
Yep.
I spent some time in Queens. One of my best friends is Anthony Mason's son.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So, yeah.
The Masons, that guy's an idol here, man. Like when he, God rest his soul, he walked on water in New York. That guy was incredible.
Yeah. He was, he's large. He was larger than life, man.
Yes.
I used to spend summers up there with him, and that dude, he was one wild dude.
Man, good old Mace, number 14. We miss him.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But I got the Nets, man. I got to go with Durant, hometown hero. He's from my area, from my city. So
yeah,
I want the Nets to win, man. I want them to get that championship this year.
All right, there it is.
Awesome.
Predicting the Nets.
Brooklyn Nets going all the way. All right. Let's see how it goes.
If they make the finals, you got to come back on the show.
Oh, done deal. Say no more.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be talking trash too.
If they play the Lakers, I'm gonna break out a LeBron jersey. You watch, yeah.
Oh man! Ooh, look at that! All right, perfect. I hope they make it now.
Yeah, I know it'll be fun.
All right, Malcolm. Thanks a lot. And like Rick said, you're always welcome on the show.
Appreciate it, fellas.
All right, have a good night. Have a good night.
All right.
Bye-bye.
That's great work, man. That's great work that he does.
Yeah, he's doing great.
But it's what the funny thing, like these athletes, they make all this money, and we look at them. They got all this money, houses, cars, but we don't really see them like the struggles, man. Like it's real out there, Their struggles are no different than like yours, mine, and everybody else we work with. It's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, back to what we had Danny on last week, saying that like a third of the league lives paycheck to paycheck.
Paycheck, yeah. And you know what's funny? He was talking about brand name, and I wanted to bring up Danny because Danny's into athletes expanding their brand, and I was like, man, that could be a collaboration with him right there.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're connected. I think they might be, but I'll double check and reach out to him if that's not the case. But yeah, that was
pretty
eye opening. I mean,
it really is.
It is. It's only going to get tougher, not easier, especially with social media being the way it is, and people being so reliant on it. Thank you for tuning in, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
We got it. Truly appreciate it. Yeah. Yes, we're gonna. I mean, I think it's next month or the month after. We're gonna do a Wolf Den fan experience TV crossover. We're gonna be like the Arrowverse. We're gonna be like the Arrowverse and the Flashverse or whatever.
We will be on the Wolf Den, Matt. We promise you that we will be on the Wolf Den. But it's funny. I as we were having that conversation with Malcolm, who I kept thinking about the whole time? Alex Rodriguez, because that guy, for however many years he played in New York, endured some of the just vitriol, man. And you have to be mentally strong to deal with stuff like that, especially in New York, man. And he put up with it for, when did he retire? 16, it was 16, I think, 13 seasons or whatever it was that he dealt with. I mean, it was just, it's crazy, man. It's crazy what he dealt with. And that guy, you have to be mentally strong to deal with that. So,
Yeah. And then he still wanted to own a New York team.
Yeah. So. Look at that.
Hey, man.
Couldn't get away with it, man. He couldn't get away with it. That's what it was.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he didn't have Cohen's money. I mean, let's just be real. It was an uphill battle for A-Rod to get there.
He had a third of Cohen's money. He had a tenth of Cohen's money. But anyway, so the Knicks got a win here. So they're 19-18 going into the All-Star break. So good for the Knicks. The RJ Barrett jersey has been ordered. It should be arriving in the next week.
Okay. There you go.
There we go. Getting ready for the second half and a playoff run.
All righty. Hey, let's see. I mean, crazier things have happened, right?
Yeah. Hey, listen, man. They're fourth. I think fifth in the Eastern Conference. So I'm curious to see if the Knicks can keep at this pace. If they're a 4 or 5 or 6 seed, they're in a first round matchup, man. I like our chances. We got to get another shooter on the floor to spread the floor a little bit. But I like a Knicks in winning a first round matchup if they get there. Now,
all right.
I could be getting ahead of my skis here, but I love the way my beloved Knicks are looking right now. So, the RJ jersey, it's on his way. I got to get a LeBron jersey if Malcolm's coming back. A lot going on.
Yeah. No, I mean that's Lakers would be interesting.
I think that's going to be the finals. I think it's going to be the finals.
All right. Well, then Malcolm's coming back on.
Yeah, he's coming back on.
Yeah.
So little news and notes here.
Yeah. What do we? So we talked about the Zach Wilson stuff, but let's talk about another quarterback for a second. Well, actually, a couple of them. Oh no, we mentioned Darnold.
Yeah.
So the Jets are fielding calls for Darnold.
Yeah.
And taking the field. Whatchamacallit? So Russell Wilson, now the Seahawks are fielding calls and they're calling other teams. But they're not shopping Russell Wilson. It's just weird, some weird terminology going around there. But Diana Rossini of ESPN was on the Pat McAfee show today and said that there are calls going both ways.
I think at this point it might just be inevitable that Russell Wilson gets traded. I mean, there is a lot of smoke there. There is a lot of tension between Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson. There is a lot going on over there. I personally think he's not happy. He's looking to get out of there. Thanks, Matt. But I think he's looking to get out of there, and I think it's just a matter of time. And the question is, where is he going to go, though? I mean, remember last year they were talking about, hey, Russell Wilson, the Giants. Remember that?
Yeah, they were. I mean, obviously he would accept deals to the Cowboys, the Saints, the Raiders, or the Bears. I feel that my money is on the Raiders.
Man,
my money is on the Raiders.
You're going to give up on Derek Carr?
Well, didn't his own brother say?
Yeah, well, his own brother threw him under the bus. That's dude. If I had a brother and he did that, I would never speak to him again. I would rip him a new one, call him the biggest a-hole on the planet, and never talk to him again. Look, I mean, they're going to trade him to the AFC West, the Raiders. You put him there with Gruden. I mean, that could be a match made in heaven. There's talent there. That defense is real good. I mean, do they have the draft capital to make the move? That's the question.
Yeah.
There's only a couple of teams who have the kind of draft capital to make a trade like that. The Jets, I don't see them doing that. The Miami Dolphins, if they're going to do that, they're going to go for Deshaun Watson. And I think that's it, man. And then the other teams, maybe the Bears make a move.
You don't think Russell Wilson would be cheaper than Deshaun Watson as far as trade value?
Only because Deshaun Watson's younger.
Yeah, I think Russell Wilson you can get for cheaper than Watson.
But Russell Wilson's he's a proven commodity, doesn't get hurt.
Of course. But
right?
if you're gonna bargain shop, that's the best bargain shop. That's the best bargain you could hope for.
But if you're Seattle, you gotta get something in return. You can't just trade him for peanuts, man. You gotta get something in return because that fan base is gonna turn on you the moment you trade him. And you could sit there and say, look, it wasn't working out. We got a great deal. The moment you trade that guy, it's over. How do you explain that?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know that you can. I wouldn't know what to say. What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, it took a while for them to get over the whole passing at the 1 yard line.
They're still not over. To this day, Mike, I still can't believe they didn't give Marshawn Lynch the ball. I still don't know how that happened.
I mean, it's a tried and true meme, or saying since that day. I mean, how do you? The dude is beast. Like the guy runs people over, and
he would have won. He would have won the Super Bowl right there. That's just I don't know, man. Well, listen, that one is for the ages. What else is happening out there in the world of sports real quick?
Well, we had a lot of releases going around the NFL.
Yeah.
Longtime Vikings. Kyle Rudolph was released.
Yeah.
Jared Cook from the Saints got released, which is kind of surprising. He did, he's been doing good on the, putting up good numbers. And Golden Tate was released
by the Giants.
Yeah, I mean, you knew that was coming. There was already that,
that tension.
Speculated. Yeah, there was a lot of tension going on. But I don't know. I mean, I think, you mentioned Kyle Pitts, the tight end, but now we're talking about, them drafting Wilson, Zach Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
What about picking up like a Jared Cook for the Jets? I don't think it's the worst idea in the world.
I don't. I mean, and you want somebody, maybe he can teach what's this kid's name, the tight end for the Jets?
Herndon.
Chris Herndon, what it means, how, I'm sure he's a professional, don't get me wrong, but maybe teach him the ins and outs of the game, how to play the game of tight end. And does he fit in that locker room? I mean, does he fit what Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas want to do in that locker room? The kind of culture they want to build. I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's a good guy in there. So yeah, it's a wait and see. I mean, for me, I would love Kyle Pitts. I mean, he's going to be a stud. That kid's going to be a beast. I mean, you put him there with Denzel Mims, get another back. I mean, it'd be awesome. I mean, if Darnold was the quarterback that everybody expected him to be, you could draft this kid, get a back there, and away you go, man.
Yeah.
That's the thing that kills me about this whole Darnold thing, man. Like, if there was a way to keep him or find a way, like we could get some real pieces, man. Like we really could.
Yeah. We got Matt chiming in with some Gator talk.
There he goes. He knows what the deal is.
But whatchamacallit? Big Ben signed a 1-year contract.
Yeah.
So he will be back.
This is going to be his last year, by the way. I just can't see how the Steelers.
Yeah. No, of course. How do you go one more year? I mean, the guy, he's clearly struggling out there. I mean, that was obviously a bad bad game against the Browns. And he couldn't throw it deep. I mean, he was a lot of dink and dunk a lot of the year. I mean, with the exception of a couple of bombs to Claypool.
He just doesn't have the arm anymore, man. I mean, he really doesn't. He just doesn't have the arm. And I don't know that he's in physical shape. I don't know if he's like a Brady who takes care of his body, eats avocado ice cream, takes care of himself like that to go after the season. But I wanted to touch on this. Not sure if you saw this last night. Shaquille O'Neal, as you know, NBA TNT host.
Yeah, I kind of know him.
Yeah, got slammed through 2 tables on AEW wrestling last night.
Did he?
Yeah, no, I don't know if you saw that.
No.
And it was. I mean, he goes down, and obviously, when Shaq goes down, they always do a meme of him getting knocked out or something like that. And he's laying there, and he's okay. But it was just like incredible seeing this 7-footer just get slammed off the ropes. I mean, it was unbelievable.
Wow. Who's the one that picked him up?
I think it was Cody Rhodes.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
If you look at the highlights, Shaq's on the apron. There's 2 tables. 2 tables behind him, and he gets slammed on the tables.
Yeah, you know what? I've been falling behind on wrestling. Yeah, bigger thing. Did you watch Young Rock the other day? By the way,
I did not get a chance. I got to see that episode. I have not. Yeah, see it, but
I only got through like half of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like it. It's a good show. But yeah, I gotta look up the Shaquille O'Neal stuff.
Yeah, it is
after we get off of here.
Yeah, and the NBA All Stars got picked. LeBron and LeBron James.
You mean slam dunk?
No, Kevin Durant and LeBron James are the captains. They picked their rosters.
Gotcha. Okay.
So they picked their rosters for the game, and it looks like. So Team LeBron has Giannis Antetokounmpo, Curry, Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic, Damian Lillard, Ben Simmons, Chris Paul, Jaylen Brown, Paul George, Domantas Sabonis, and Rudy Gobert. And Durant got Kyrie Irving, Joel Embiid, Kawhi Leonard, Bradley Beal, Jason Tatum, James Harden, Devin Booker, Zion Williamson, Zach LaVine, Julius Randle, Nikola Vucic, and Donovan Mitchell.
I don't know. I like Team LeBron.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
I mean, you got LeBron and Giannis and Doncic. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. Yeah. It is It is definitely a wrap with that squad. Yeah. It's West versus East then, right?
It's West versus East, but they're like.
Or was it a whole pool? Because I know, obviously.
No, I think it was just like a pool. I think.
So then, how did they end up with that?
Yeah, they just out of all the players, they pick them. But I mean, I don't know how you beat this team. Giannis, Steph, Luka, Nikola.
Oh yeah, and I even forgot Steph.
Yeah, like he's just going to be bombing threes all game. It's going to be great.
But if you're going like 1-1 draft, like how do they end up with that? Like there has to, I don't know. There got to be something, something going on there because
but
it doesn't even sound fair.
Yeah, right. It sounds like a total mismatch, but it's going to be fun Sunday. And they're going to have the dunk contest at halftime. I think
dunk contest at halftime, 3-point before the game.
Yeah,
and the skills challenge before the game. It should be fun. It should be fun on Sunday.
Yeah. So
without a doubt, I'm looking forward to it. It should.
Obi Toppin for the Knicks is in the dunk contest. Let's go, Obi.
Okay, he's officially in it. Okay.
He'll be in it. Yeah.
Who else we got?
And Julius Randle made it for the Knicks as an All-Star reserve, so he's on the team as well.
Okay.
So good for Julius. All right.
Yeah, no, good for him. And I guess that's it for tonight.
That's it.
We'll enjoy the NBA All-Star game, everybody.
Yeah.
Should be a fun one. I'm not going to lie. And we'll be back with you Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. As always, episode 65 of Fan Experience TV. Please check us out on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, IMDb. Please give us some reviews. Captivate. Well, it's actually on fanexperiencepod.com.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it's please review us, please share at the Fans Pod on Twitter, at Fan Experience Pod on Instagram. Until Tuesday, everybody, have a great weekend and enjoy the All-Star game.
Enjoy the weekend. Peace.
Good one.